People have their opinions and their ideas and their prejudices about anything spiritual. And within Kriya Yoga, just as within Christianity, I mean, it's amazing all of the fighting between different factions of Christianity. Just here in this little town, a neighbor across the street, she's been to about 3 or 4 churches because the ministers say something that she doesn't like, so then she'll go to another church, and that minister says something she doesn't like, then she goes to the other church. And there's a lot of people like that.
Pranam Guruji.
That's that. But if you go into an ashram, if there's a spiritual head there or a spiritual teacher, you would never ever say anything negative ever. So that's what's kind of odd about it. But I think the good outweighs the bad. We're talking about YouTube.
There's a way to put no comments, I think, but that will restrict any positive feedback. But I think there is a way that I've seen some videos where you cannot put any comments.
Yeah, I've seen that there's a way that you don't do comments. I was thinking about that, but it kind of makes you. When I see something on YouTube that doesn't allow comments, it makes me think, well, what's the problem? Why are they having to shut off comments? It's always because they're getting negative comments. Why else would you do it? So it kind of just right from the get-go, you're telling everybody that you're getting a lot of negative comments. So that's why I'm kind of inclined not to allow to do that to where comments weren't allowed.
Sometimes people put a lot of comments and they need response. So maybe those person who put the video with no comments, they do not want to respond back. So that could be also, I think, just a video that is given there, and they're not interested to take any feedback.
Well, in the Kriya Yoga, for everyone, we have mostly people that are sympathetic to and knowledgeable about Kriya Yoga. But occasionally, if I do a post with an ad for the cosmic bangles, sometimes I'll get a negative comment. The last time somebody, but I can delete those. Somebody said that the bangles are demonic, and that I was demonic for making the bangles. That it was Antichrist or something like that. Things like that have to be erased. But of course, they're kind of stupid. Sunny, that guru, there must have been more to his enlightenment experience than just that, right?
I think so, Guruji. I have just started seeing today what he speaks. So I found it good, and it was a short format. It's a reel, how it has come. So when you scroll, there were multiple such reels, and one of this reel was on his story. Though he says in this reel that I have talked about it much, but since it was a very short clip, I am going to search now. I think there will be a bigger one of what really happened that day. But it was very interesting to have, understand that experience, because I've heard yours, and if you hear some other Mahatma also, I think it is interesting. And in the end, he said that he will come to you in whatever form you are worshipping. So it was very similar to how you explain.
Well, if you listen to people's near-death experiences, it's all there's some similarities, but they're all different. It has a lot to do with the person's outlook, their mind, what they expect, what they believe, what they experience, and near death, because a lot of it is coming through the the mind, the conditioned mind, even after death, obviously, and you're not enlightened. So every Christian sees something Christian after death, and there aren't very many, at least here in the U.S. I haven't come across very many Indian near-death experiences. So they're on. I'm watching these on YouTube. So in India, uh, if you want to do that for me, go on YouTube and then put in near-death experiences and see what the near-death experiences are for Indians. See if they see Krishna, see if they see Rama or Hanuman. Because then here it's all everybody sees Jesus. So Krishna says in the Gita that your last thoughts, which means the cumulative amount of all your thoughts in your incarnation, come all to that point of death, which makes sense because that's when you're transcending all your experiences from Earth. So whatever your predominant thought was during life, that's what determines your next life. Like in American culture, from childhood, the culture here is very, very active towards Christianity and Jesus. So you had that in your consciousness from a young age. Before I could even think of spirituality or religion, I already had concepts of Jesus. I just from adults talking, but I hadn't formed any concept of my own. But one thing an impression that I got from them is if you don't believe in Jesus, then that's really, really bad. That I didn't know why, but that flavored my perspective whenever I heard that somebody said, well, those people are atheists. They don't believe in. It was a neighbor of mine who was a Catholic. So those people are atheists. It was like, oh my gosh. It's like the devil is incarnated in their body. They don't believe in Jesus. And some is like that exact same thing with Yogananda. If you don't believe in Yogananda, then you're extremely ignorant and far away from spiritual realization. The direct disciples of Ramakrishna didn't believe in Yogananda at all. They had a very poor opinion of him. They refused to even meet with him. He wanted to meet with them when they would come to Los Angeles, and they wouldn't have anything to do with him because they didn't like his approach to spreading Kriya Yoga, teaching Kriya Yoga. His ads and his kind of somewhat boisterous way of doing it.
Guruji,
Mm-hmm.
I found it very funny, and in a recent conversation, what I understand is that what you're saying is right, but people what they would do is they will consider their family members okay, but anybody who is following a guru, I'm not sure, but they've, at least for me, like I've been told this satanic thing by some people in a conversation, just because may not be following Ananda. So I'm not sure. Do they consider other gurus also like that? But for their family members, they were all okay. Like, if they are following any god, we are very open. That's how it should be. But the moment I talk about anything, so it's more like that I have got influenced by satanic forces.
Well, my first experience, I told you, with Ananda is when uh, the owner of the house invited me to come and give satsang at Ananda, because she would give that space in the basement, which is where I was living. I lived in the totality of the house, and Ananda was in the basement. So they were already established in the basement, and she was giving them free rent. And then she gave that, when I came, she gave the house to me, and they stayed there with her Ananda headquarters. But I was shocked, and she invited me to give satsang, and the people in charge of Ananda said, absolutely no way do we want him here giving satsang to Ananda members. Where would that attitude come from? They're afraid that I was going to say something contrary to what they were saying.
So, Guruji, I thought, and I'm now very clear of how I would say it. Anybody who's telling Kriya Yoga, apart from Yogananda ji's lineage, I think only SRF or Ananda is recognized for that. Otherwise, other forms of God realization like bhakti, other gurus like even Sadguru and all, I think they're all comfortable with that. It is only when Kriya Yoga is coming through a guru that they feel it is a satanic force or something.
But it doesn't take very much of a intellect to understand that Lahiri Messiah had many disciples, and he had quite a few who also he told for them to initiate his disciples that were self-realized and God-realized. He told them to initiate others. So there were direct disciples other than Lahiri Messiah initiated into Kriya Yoga, and then Sri Yukteswar had other disciples that he told them to initiate others into Kriya Yoga, and so in this whole entire world, to think that it would only come through Yogananda is real sad state of intellect. Even on your own, you would have to be aware of that. Because it says in the book, Lahiri Messiah and his many disciples, and Sri Yukteswar and his many disciples, was Yogananda the only one throughout eternity that would ever give Kriya Yoga initiation? That's ridiculous.
The thing is that it becomes like a cult as time goes by.
Yeah, cult. Religion or cult.
Like a cult, yeah. Then.
And Guruji, Swamiji used to not say it in this way. No, and in fact, there are videos of Swami Kriyananda calling other disciples of Yogananda ji also. And if you look, even SRF had, or Yogananda ji talked about church of all religions. Like he used to have a podium for some outside speaker and one podium for SRF people, something like that. It was always supposed to be cross interaction. But yeah, now it is becoming very strange. I think it is because there is insecurity.
Yeah, well, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that would be exactly what it is. It's insecurity. We have something that we've defined to be Kriya Yoga, and we have to protect it. If you have to protect Kriya Yoga, then you don't understand anything about Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga doesn't need protection ever. If it survived the whole Kali Yuga and was diminished, but that was just because of the people. It wasn't because the Kriya Yoga wasn't diminished. It's the Sanatan religion. It's the eternal religion, Kriya Yoga. So how can anything dilute it, cut it, kill it, diminish it? Nothing can. But they're thinking grossly external aspects of Kriya Yoga. That's what they have to protect, because that will change and that will die. 100 years from now, 200 years from now, maybe 50 years from now. But I would think 100 years from now, 200 years from now, Kriya Yoga will still be practiced, and souls will still be realizing God through Kriya Yoga. But the name Ananda will probably be forgotten. The name Self-Realization Fellowship will probably be forgotten. And those aren't going to survive forever. But I never. The only enlightenment experience we're talking about, enlightenment experience. There's maybe Archana is familiar with the guru. Is he in Delhi, Sonny? Where does he live? What part of India?
Oh, Guruji?
Vrindavan.
Oh, it's right, in Vrindavan. Yeah, Archana and others have been to Vrindavan many, many times. Tell Archana the name, maybe she'll recognize.
Archana, there is this Guruji right now, Premanandji, very popular on social media in India.
Yeah. Yes. He is enlightened. The Radha? The
yes.
One, Radha. Yeah. Yes, he is. His story is very painful. The one he talks about how he got enlightened and how he prayed and how he chanted.
Okay, so you've heard of him. Seema?
In India, Guruji, he is right now very popular, and I really felt very good after listening to him, because for once I saw there is some, Sanskrit Hindi speaking guru on YouTube and all who's actually talking truth. Otherwise, there are a lot of untruth or comedy also which happens with some gurus doing fear mongering and all. And he was really, whatever I have heard, he was really talking from his experience, talking very to the point what the scripture, and everything would kind of go into Naam, like, take Naam and it will resolve. So from his experience, he in fact talked about that. I think he was 13 or somewhere between 13 to 17 when he left home to take sannyas, and he was scared that he will not find food until he said that God will, and then he hugged the shivling, and then somebody came and gave him curd, sweet curd or lassi, and then he realized that, oh, why am I relying on anyone? I have to rely only on that one. I think that's what he was explaining, and from that start, now I think a lot of, and like I said, there was a ex-Indian captain of the cricket team. He went there, and after his going, he has become really popular. So a lot of people follow. In fact, because of the Indian captain going to Neem Karoli Baba Ashram, there are a lot of ropes now. You can't really sit there for long. Wherever he
you can't
goes,
go in and Neem Karoli's ashram in Vrindavan. You can't go there anymore.
Not Vrindavan. This is the Ranikhet.
Ranikhet.
On that way.
That one.
That way, you can go there.
In the Himalayas. That was closed off now with ropes.
It's closed with ropes, so you can't sit there. Earlier, when I have gone there, you could sit there for meditation. Now it is like there is so much of people that you have to be very quick in moving. So
that was always open when we would go there.
Guruji,
it's open, but it's like a very quick
time.
But the one in Vrindavan is the one in Vrindavan is usually always somewhat. There's nobody there except for us.
Guruji, that will change very soon now, because till now they were only talking about Kechi Dham. Now I've seen recently in social media, the trust has started talking about Hanumangadi temple as well as the Vrindavan ashram.
Mm.
So because they must be feeling too much crowd is coming to Kechi Dham. So now they're trying to promote. Only today I saw that earlier Hanumangadi temple where we visited, remember? Which was
Mm.
very quiet and hardly anybody was there. Even till recently, it was good. I went with Pal also and Alona also. But now they are trying to promote the ashram, Vrindavan ashram, and also the Hanuman Gadi because they probably want the crowd to move on to those areas also. But it's got very, very crowded. You can't enter, you can't sit in that room. We sat in that room and we did chanting as a group.
Yeah.
And we were able to sit there as a group for a long time. There was no problem at that time, but now you can't. You can't even enter easily. It takes, there's a huge crowd and the traffic, it takes 3 to 4 hours just to enter the place.
That's what we liked about it. Is the one in Vrindavan was so peaceful, and then Nandamaya Ma's ashrams are always very empty and very peaceful. The one in Vrindavan is very, very peaceful.
Guruji,
Mhm.
sorry, you recall that temple that was the Samadhi temple of Nip Karoli Baba in Vrindavan?
Mhm. Yeah.
And we spent so much time there, and where the idol of Nip Karoli Baba was there. Now I think there's really, really promoting it. I saw a number of YouTube videos about it, and it's beginning to get very crowded, that also.
Well, in the 70s, it was very, very crowded when all the hippies were going there from Europe and America. It was the one in Vrindavan was very, very crowded. So, but the Moni Baba will always be there and be quiet when the sadhu keeps silence.
Hope he's there now. We don't know he's there or not, Guruji.
I would think that he would be. Wonder how he does with that. I'm sure he'll do just fine. But it's interesting to listen. That the only enlightenment experience you don't hear of very many because I think it's most people don't want they don't want to talk about it. And so the only enlightenment experiences that I had really heard of were Ramakrishna, because he described everything, all of his experiences. So he described his first samadhi when he was a boy. Yeah, Archie, you got your hand up?
There's something I've seen twice about Premanand Maharaji, a particular clip, whereas a woman devotee is asking him a question, and she says, exactly 1 year back, when I visited you, I got God realization. And there was a very interesting reaction by him. He laughed when he heard that, and he said, so then everything is fine now that you have it. And she's like, no, for 3, 4 months, everything was fine. And then things started getting bad. Then Guruji, he said exactly what you say. He said, if you have had God realization, then nothing matters anymore to you. Nothing should matter to you anymore. You have got everything.
Well,
And how can you just say that you had God realization and then you say that you're having trouble about so many things?
well, listen to this. I just happened to be on this page. The vibration-free state that comes about in a state of yoga, which is union with God, Nirvikalpa Samadhi. When one attains that state, even if one comes down from that state, the mind never again becomes attached to the things of this world as before. The consciousness at all times keeps its attention on the Supreme Self, whether moving, sitting, eating, laying, etc. The world as well, after God realization, becomes gradually more and more filled with Brahm. So because you become God realized, and it happens slowly. You become God realized, but the outer world starts to change. Literally, the outer world starts to become fuller and fuller and fuller Brahm, to where you start to see that person is Brahm, that person is Brahm, that dog, that bird, that mountain, everything is Brahm. And then everything becomes Brahm. Everything becomes one Brahm and in all the multiplicity of the world. So to have God realization, and then to have any sort of trouble is proof that you need to get moving. Don't rest in your state of delusion. You had a nice experience. Most people who've never had spiritual experience, the experience is so profound. They think that they're self-realized or God-realized. There's quite a few people I've met that think that, and they aren't. I can tell that they aren't, because they would experience what is written here. After God realization, you would have nothing would ever disturb you ever. Yeah, Kanika.
No, it was me, Sukriti.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sukriti. Right.
Actually, I was, there is a Guruji who is worshipped a lot in, I think now many parts of the world. In fact, he's called Guruji, and he's known as Bade Mandir Guruji. And there's a huge following now since the last maybe 5-7 years. It's only growing. And he's no more now in physical form. But when he was here, he would call himself as Shiv, like that he was Mahashiv. So, and I mean, I don't think anybody goes to the temple for realizing God. I think they just go to, think that they get boons there, or miracles happen when they go there. So, and there's a huge following. So I don't even think people are really looking for God realization or enlightenment now. I think they're just looking for their answers, their prayers being answered or their wishes being granted. And that is considered, I think, finding God to a lot of people, because they do consider him to be a God.
Well, if you see a guru with a large following, it's almost always because of that. Because in this world, everybody is worldly. There's very few genuine spiritual people. So, if just what you said, it can be boons of whatever desire they have. They consider its fulfillment to be a boon, and they consider the blessings of a guru to be a boon in the fulfillment of whatever they desire. Because God is a wish fulfilling tree. I mean, God can fulfill all of your desires.
I want to add to Shruti what she said. She's right about the Jaguruji, because I followed that before I found you. The only thing I wanted to add, that she's absolutely right. Yes, he has a huge following. I know personally a person who opened a huge temple in Rajasthan, and I was involved in that thing. And when I met Guruji, Yogivah Ji, and there was a saint, but he's not publicly known or anything. His name is Sukhwinder Paji, and he's enlightened well-being. And he's the one who guided me to see Yogivah Ji. And we can talk hours about, God and things. And mostly Yogivah Ji talk 99.9% same things. And I think he also sent one of his best friends to you 12 years ago. You had a picture on your post a few days ago. He was Sardarji, had a big turban and bear, and that was his friends, and he sent it to you, Yogivah Ji, 12 years ago. And he was telling me about that experience. And Guruji, going back to Guruji, yes, Guruji's satsangs, only thing he used to sit in a public, he used to say, people don't come in to ask me for one thing, what I'm sitting here for. They ask me for heal my cancer or, go away my problems. Nobody's looking for, okay, what is the truth? So I felt like when I met Yogivah Ji, he answered my question. And there was 7th July, it was a huge satsang. I went there and I felt like he answered my questions every time, because it's like I was going there to find that one thing. What is that one thing? Finding my truth. Finding my truth to meet the true beloved who can help me to get there. So that's the only thing I wanted to say. So,
well, in America, which is
this is
hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Christian churches, there's some churches that are called mega churches, which can seat for Sunday service. I think they can seat 60,000 people, which is huge. I mean, this town here is only 20,000 people. The reason they're so popular is they're charismatic, and they do the same thing. They promise boons. God will fulfill your desires. Whatever you want, you can manifest it through God. God will come through your. So people are attracted to that, but that's also part of being a guru. Is people find it auspicious to take prasad from a guru, or just to be from a guru, because they know that the guru can take away their misery, can take away their suffering, and can also give boons, which is all true. Not necessarily the way they want it to be, but it is true. The guru's presence is auspicious, and you don't even have to be God realized. You can be in the company of a simple sadhu, and it's auspicious. The sadhu represents God. The sadhu's made a decision to renounce the world for God. So we're going to an empty temple with nobody around, no guru, no disciple. When I would walk along the Ganges, this is 55 years ago in Hardwar, you would hardly ever see a person walking along the Ganges. Occasionally I would see up in the brush, and it was all brush, just a little footpath. I would see it, an old, ancient little temple. It looked like it hadn't been disturbed for hundreds of years. And I knew that if I were to sit in front of that tiny little temple, that it was auspicious, that there was a power, that there's a power there. But this is how you can tell. It's simple how you can tell if anybody is God realized, and if anybody is a real true guru. Everything they say, all the emphasis is that God is within you, and all the boons God does give boons. Contact God within yourself, and that you are a divine being. They don't speak anything about themselves being a divine being. It's all you yourself are a divine being, because they see you as a divine being, and they see it. So they're going. It's realized to them right there at that moment that you are a divine being. So they're relating to you as divine, and that because it's true, that brings up the truth inside you, and you start to realize that you are divine. So it's not about somebody else being divine, but of course we want to be in the company of somebody that is. But it's like giving somebody papayas to appease their hunger, or teaching them how to grow papayas. Do you want a guru who's giving you boons, or do you want to have those boons already coming up within yourself from God? Well, of course, you want to realize that the giver of boons is your own self, as being one with God, not a guru or not somebody else. What what is his? We're going back to Sunny. What is his worship? What is he? Who does he? What aspect of God does he worship?
I think Radha Rani and Krishna.
Okay.
Mainly
Guruji?
Radha.
Anita?
I had a question. Yes. I just wanted what you feel about, like, I have come across for a person who's a spiritual seeker, who's walking on that path, and whenever I travel to different places, I always find that uh, if there is a guru associated with an area around that area, there are always messages that come to me that I should visit that place. Sometimes I find that these messages are like absolutely real, like somebody will tell me that you must come here, or we are arranging a trip for you. And otherwise, if I am traveling for only 2 3 days, even then I find that I dream. In my dream there will be somebody, of a nearby ashram or something like that. So does this happen? Because my question, like, I have experienced it, so I don't know, like, whether sometimes I feel whether it's the mind concocting it, or is it like really happening. It's like, if you are a spiritual seeker, then there are the vibes around, and the gurus can kind of feel it, or what is it?
Well,
I just wanted your, yeah.
It's God. It's divine energy that's enlivening everything around you, because you become an intent. You started to turn towards God, and so I've experienced that through the entirety of my whole life, what you just described, and all of you have. My mind was never sophisticated enough to think about it. I just experienced it, and I knew it was God. So I never had any doubts that it wasn't, that it was just my mind. I didn't know that much about the mind, but I experienced that as something as God is communicating with you, God is guiding you, God is bringing you to certain places, just like Lahiri Masaya was brought up to the Raniket forest up in the mountains. And remember Yogananda, when he was walking through town, and he felt something had taken control of his steps, and he was guided, and then there he saw Sri Yukteswar in front of him. I always experience that. When I don't experience that, then I question, why am I not experiencing it? What's wrong? Is there something wrong with me?
Guruji, and also, like, I just like wanted to add, because there are quite a few realized people, God realized also, and I have had the opportunity of visiting some of the siddhas. But they have, and I have, because I was at that time rudderless, I didn't know whether who's going to be my guru. So I was always like, are you going to be my guru? And they have always told me, you take, none of them has said that, like, they told me that we are not your gurus. Literally, they have told me this, that, no, you move on. I mean, you take what you have to take from here. And they will never force you that you become my disciple, and things like that. So it is even for Guruji that we were talking of in Delhi, who has a very big temple. There are people who have who forced me literally that you must visit there. And then I think I shared this with you on the messenger, that I said that I don't want to get confused. I have a guru. I don't want to meet too many gurus. I don't want to follow too many gurus. Just be one. So I had actually in the night when I slept before I had to go there, I said, if you really want me to come, let me know. And the same night I had a dream in which I actually saw him, and he was there, and I was like a baby, and I was there next to him. So I did visit, but I said, please, I will not come again. If you have to come, you please come and give me darshan. But he is, I think, a realized person. I'm not very sure. I've not been following him much, but there's a huge crowd in Delhi who I know follows him.
Well, I've heard, I've been, and I've told you the stories, but I've had dozens and dozens and dozens of times because I live without money. I've lived without money my whole life, meaning I don't keep money. I don't save money. Never had a bank account. So I was always on the edge. I was always dependent on God for everything. So sometimes, especially if I was out of town and I had no money at all, going to sleep knowing that I had no money and so far away from home, and if I'm having a problem, I talk to God just like I'm talking to you now. That's when I get the best response. Is I just talk to Him. And I tell him, I say, this is the situation I'm in. I have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring. And if you get me out of this situation, then I'll really, really believe in you. And this is a conversation that I have. That's exactly what I say. If you do this, then I'll really believe in you. And the next day, some miraculous way, I end up, by the end of the day, I have several $1,000s, or $7,000, and I'll continue on my trip. All that money I send back to my relatives. I might keep $20 for myself, and then I get in the same situation. And I talked to God the night before, and I said, "Well, you got me out of that situation, but maybe that was just a coincidence. Now, if you get me out of this one, which is even worse, then I'll really, really, really believe it. And the next day, the same thing happens. It gets me out of that. Well, I do it a third time. He said, well, this is really, 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 really bad situation. It's impossible to ever get out of this situation. Nobody could possibly do it. So if you get me out of this situation, then I'll really believe you and I won't pester you. And he would get me out of that situation. So how do you not believe in God if you have that experience? Is that just some coincidence? Is it the power of positive thinking, or or does God really exist? Is God with us every day as we live? Is God listening to us? Well, God is with us, is with all of us all the time.
But Guruji, what if
Yes,
it doesn't? What if it doesn't come true? Like what you said, get me out of this situation, and what if you don't get out of that situation?
He's always got me out of it, every time, without fail. And there's been at least 50 or 60, maybe over 75 times, but probably closer to 100. I always have. Never been a time when he hasn't. Ever.
Guruji, I just wanted to add, when I had to visit that temple at Guruji's place, it was your birthday. That was last year. And I didn't know it was your birthday, but I came to know just that day when I visited, it was your birthday. I happened to be showing your photograph to my aunt, and I said, "This is my Guruji," and she said, he looks just like Guruji, the Delhi Guruji. I said, "Really?" And then I actually looked at your pic, and you were looking just like Guruji only. So I'm just saying, you see how things just happen. It's very interesting.
Gurudev, I share that picture on the chat. I don't know if you get a chance to see it.
If you listen, you won't hear it through SRF, but if you listen about Yogananda from other sources, other disciples of Yogananda that didn't carry on with SRF, and they tell of their personal stories with Yogananda. There's some very enlightening stories on how he spent his day and how dependent he was on God. How if he wanted something, he would talk to God. Even simple little things like a particular cake or a particular pie or something, and God would provide it. And then in the autobiography of Yogi, he talks about such things all the time. When he took his sister and her sister's husband, who was very did not want Yogananda's sister to be practicing, doing spiritual practices or worshiping God. Very, very much so. Very strong husband that was making her life completely miserable. And so she hoped that, brother, if you take me to Dakshineswar in your divine company, maybe he'll change. Maybe he'll become a little sweeter, a little nicer, a little more tolerant of my spiritual quest. Remember that story in Autobiography Yogi? And they arrive in Dakshineswar and they're hungry, but Yogananda goes to meditate. And when he would meditate, he would become absorbed, especially in Dakshineswar. So it's 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or more. And he hadn't made arrangements for their food. I mean, he hadn't gone ahead and made arrangements for their food in particular. And the husband of his sister was just irate, scolding him, yelling at the sister, and what have you done? You haven't provided for our food, and the kitchens are closed. And the story ends when they had a special banquet just for them, the food provided, and it was miraculous. And his heart started to soften a little bit in that atmosphere of Dakshineswar, and then the miracle with the food being provided, Yogananda's company, and it did change his nature a little bit, enough to where she would have a more comfortable, more peaceful environment with him to do her spiritual practices. So Yogananda speaks of that many, many, many times. And Yogananda, as Sunny and I were talking earlier, and we were talking earlier, Yogananda, whenever he heard the story of a guru or a devotee of God, he would rush to go see them. And he did that throughout his whole life. Any person of God, any guru, any saint, any Mahatma, he wanted to go see them and pay his respects to them. And he was open to any person who was a devotee of God. Didn't have to be a particular lineage or sect or belief. He wanted to go and be in their company. And then Sunny was telling me that Kriyananda was the same way. I know that Kriyananda spent some time with Nandamaya Ma and some others. He was that way. He wanted to visit the Mahatmas. That's something I enjoy more than anything. Is I want to see Mahatmas. I want to see yogis, even simple sadhus. I want to be with sadhus. And, so I've been with perfect masters. I've been with self and God realized Mahatmas, and I've been with sadhus, and my whole life. And that's what I really wanted. One thing when I was a boy, before I went to India, I really loved the Gospel of Ramakrishna, and I would I didn't have to work much back in those days, and so I would read all day long. I would read the Gospel of Ramakrishna, and then I would dream of being there when Ramakrishna was there, and I memorized the way it was laid out in the different buildings and the Leelas with Ramakrishna and Divine Mother and the Kali Temple and his rooms that he was staying, where the satsang was, the way the Ganges was laid out, and where his meditation, where he would do his tapas and sadhana under the tree there. You know, I would spend the day just imagining that I was there, but never thinking that I would uh, ever be there in life. There was no way I could. How would it be possible? You know, back then, you couldn't just get in a plane and travel somewhere. That was extremely difficult to do. Plus, I had never been anywhere before, uh, especially on my uh, at that time on my own. So I never thought it was. That's what I dreamed of, but I never thought it was possible. But that was probably one of the number one things that I really desired. And now Archana and a woman provided all the expenses paid, and Archana and I and another what was her name? I can see her. I remember her name. Went with us, and we went to Dakshineswar on Shivratri day. We didn't plan it for that day. It just happened to be that day. And I still, to this day, I can't believe that desire of mine came true. That's probably one of the best fulfilled desires I've ever had. And first I had to go to Delhi, and then when I came back from India the first time, I never thought I would ever go back. I didn't think it would ever happen. I didn't make plans to go back. I did nothing concrete to go back. All I did was started to write on an internet forum of Guru's feet, and started to get responses, and then offers to come to India and stay to India, and then meeting people, and there I was flying to Calcutta from Delhi. But if the more and more in tune you are with God, the more and more magical your life is, the more and more of your dreams become fulfilled. And you see that magic, that force that's tangible around you, and making things happen. Yes, Archana?
Guruji, I would like to share my impression of that trip. We went to Dakshineswar, and Guruji has always been actually connected with Ramakrishna so deeply that he has talked so much about it, and also Ma Kali. And that trip happened just like that, without any planning. And we went to the temple first time on Mahashivratri day. It was very, very crowded. And with Guruji, we went into all of those Shiva temples. There are, I think, 11 or 12 temples along the bank of river. And they're very small temple. They're just inside. I think they're probably just 6 by 6 or just around that kind of a size, which were extremely crowded. There was hardly any way we could place feet inside.
There's no gap between people at all.
And Guruji, I and the other devotee, I'm sorry, Guruji, when I'm not remembering her name, I was scared to go inside. And Guruji was holding both of us by hands, and he was dragging us inside each and every temple.
Oh, it was
and
incredible,
in each
wonderful
and every
inside.
temple, he blessed us. He took that water from Shiva and blessed both of us. And when we came out on the same day, there's something more important thing that I want to share is that I truly believe Guruji has been very deeply connected with Ramakrishna ji in some way or other, because in the temple, first of all, when we were going in, there was the main entry had a very long queue, and we could not have entered through that maybe for hours. And then suddenly somebody came to us, I, Guruji, just three of us, and he came to us and he said, "Let me take you inside from the other side." We didn't ask anybody. He came, he took us to a side entrance where there was a guard and a policeman and everything. And he just said, "Go from here, you will reach directly Mars temple." And we were allowed inside. Nobody stopped us from there. Nobody else was going in from there. And we entered, and then we were standing right in front of Mars temple. It was very crowded. Guruji and I, because of the others, because we went in from other side, we could actually go right in front of her idol. And then when we were coming out, people recognized Guruji as connected to Ramakrishna very clearly, because there were families which came to us, to Guruji. They touched his feet, they did Shashtang Pranam, and they were all crying. I remember three of them were crying when they met Guruji, and they were feeling that they got really blessed that they got to see him. Guruji is not from Ramakrishna Mission. He wasn't pretending to be. He was not doing any such thing for which one should feel that he's a great guru or something. But it was his aura, his presence that those people felt. There must have been some sincere devotees. And then we were in the temple. We went to number of all the Ramakrishna ji's room. When we went to his room, again it was very crowded, and they would not allow anybody to sit there for more than 2-3 minutes. People would just go in, do pranam, and then they had to move out because they were already, it was crowded, and many people were already seated whom they were not moving away because they must have been the monks or very deeply closely connected with the temple. But when Guruji went in, he sat near the bed of Ramakrishna ji, and then the priest there, I told Guruji, I was telling Guruji, we have to move because they are not letting us sit. And the priest there who was sitting next to the bed, he said, "No, no, you all can sit here." And we were sitting there for about more than an hour till the time, it was the time when they closed the room, when nobody else can be inside the room. And we were allowed to do that without our making any request for that. And then when we came out of the room, we were sitting outside the room, right in that same veranda. And again, people came to meet Guruji. And they all did pranams to Guruji, and they were all very overwhelmed by devotion. And finally, when we moved out of the temple, we were just leaving from the temple. We were not there with a concept that we have to take the prasad and we have to find the prasad and eat the prasad or anything like that. The thought did not come to my mind also. And then again, one person came running to us. He stopped us and he said, "There is prasad for you. Why are you not taking it?" And he took us back in and he gave to each of us a huge kind of that leaf bowl full of Mars prasad. And we sat there, we had the prasad, and we left from the temple. It was a very strange, yet in a way very fulfilling and somehow very natural experience. Another thing which I want to add is every time Guruji has gone for any pilgrimage with us, without our planning that it has to be a special day or a special date, it always happened on a special day. Either it was what is that called? Ram Navami, or it was Janmashtami, or it was Hanuman Jayanti. We went to Vrindavan on Hanuman Jayanti day. We went to Babaji's cave for the first time on Ram Navami. The next time we went, it was Janmashtami. And on any of these days, we never planned that this is a particular day we will go there. It just happens to be that whenever Guruji goes to a particular place, it's a special day of that time. So this is something, I mean, I don't think many people realize, but this is how it happens when we travel with Guruji. Also, one more thing which I think I mentioned earlier, that when we went to Jageshwar Dham, that wasn't at that time a very crowded temple, but that was early morning, and it was a Monday, so it was little more crowded than what it normally is. And that particular temple is, people believe that if they go and do worship there, their boons are fulfilled. They really believe it, and it is a very powerful temple. So we went along with Guruji again inside that temple. We were 5 or 6 of us. It's the temple complex is very large. There are about 108 temples, but the temple themselves, the inside, the main chambers are very small, and there are huge shivlings there. There are about, I think they go inside how much I don't know, but the diameter must be more than 2 feet or something. It's a big shivling. So when Guruji went in, first of all, again, nobody was allowed to go inside and sit there. But the moment Guruji went in, the priests there themselves said, please sit. They not only allowed, they actually requested him to sit there. And then when Guruji was sitting there, the water was flowing from Guruji's head like this. But from here, he was totally drenched. He sat there for quite some time. We were blessed that we could also be around there for some time. And when we walked out from the temple, from that particular temple, as soon as Guruji came out, three of the priests came following Guruji, and they all touched his feet. They all did Shashtang Pranam to him. Now, all of these places, Guruji goes unannounced. There's nothing, we don't make a big deal about, we just go with him. It's not that he's seen as, maybe he's some famous guru and a lot of people are going with him, so people would behave like that. It's nothing like that. It's very, very normal. But this happens with him all the time.
In the Jageshwar temple, what I experienced is the inner chambers of the temple is beautiful. I mean, it's just full of God. And I experienced a particular divine being in that temple, God, that was aware of his presence, and he like embraced me and took me within inside of himself. And that's what I was experiencing during that trance. So beautiful, golden lights, green figure, divine love, knowledge, just very, very blissful, deep, ancient experience. I mean, it was like present day, past day, the past and the present. The past going back many, 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 many centuries. Because that's one of our favorite things is we like to go to the temples together because we have such experiences. But that particular experience, I felt that that I had been accepted into a much higher dimension of realization of permanence. From that moment on, I felt that a special blessing was given to me by this divine being. Yeah, we've been back several times, and I had the same experience every time we go. So it wasn't an hallucination. But
Guruji,
just that, yeah.
I also wanted to share my experience with Jageshwar Dham. So this is when I thought you were in Haldwani,
Mhm.
and because some of your photos you say at Haldwani, and when I initially, I think it is 2022, and I thought you are in Haldwani, and I wrote to you that okay, I am coming in this weekend to Haldwani. Where are you? And you said you are in US. So I went for a solo trip. So I had planned to write a book. So I was in the Mukteshwar region, and there two other devotees came who were again on solo trips, and one was establishing shivlings all over India. So that was what he was doing his life, and the other also used to keep traveling to places, and they were insisting to go to Jageshwar Nath and Neem Karoli Baba Ashram. So in my mind, somewhere I was like, okay, Yogivaji is not there, but I really felt the first time I went there, and later I saw your photograph in Jageshwar Dham also. So I really connect that place to you a lot, and I really feel it came as a blessing of yours because you were not there, but I could reach that place. But it is really a very sacred place, I feel.
Yeah, the Jageshwar Dham. I mean, I feel like I've been, like it's very, very familiar. You have the dense woods with the tall trees. You're in the mountains. Something about the greenery and the little river that runs through, and all the temples. It seems like ancient familiarity for me, especially probably more so than any place I've been so far. Very different feeling. It takes me way, way, way back. It just seems real familiar. Like I could live there. Today, I'd be perfectly happy just staying there. I felt similar to Dakshineswar. I thought how wonderful it would be to, of course, you can't do it now, but how wonderful it would be to be there at night and to spend the night there, all alone with nobody else there. Without the crowds, without the public going through, just to have the Kali temple to yourself, to have Kali to yourself, with the Ganges, to walk along the Ganges with the Kali temple behind you, and then to meditate, to have it fenced off, so you can't get to the tree where in that area where Ramakrishna did his tapas. But I would imagine how wonderful it would be to sit in a place where Ramakrishna did all that tapas. You would have to experience something really profound if you did that at night, especially. That's when he did a lot of his tapas. There was at night. But he went about and collected all of the sacred, auspicious, holy trees and planted them there for his place of meditation.
Gurudev, I'll be going there.
Yeah.
On
when are you leaving?
23rd, I'll be going to Dakshineswar, Gurudev.
Okay. Give me one of the real small Kali murtis.
I will go.
AJ brought one for me, and I gave it to Lucretius. If I have something, if you're around me, I'll just give it to you. I don't know why, but I really want that little Kali murti, so get that from me.
I will get it, Gurudev. I will get it.
Okay. I've always been partial to just walking the banks of the Ganges with just a simple little murti of the one that you love, and just keep that with you and worship that with you wherever you go. Wrap it up in a little silk cloth and put it in your pocket, and go on walking and find another nice place to sit and meditate. It's always been an ideal of mine to do that. and definitely have companions. Have a few companions. I don't, even though I spend a lot of time alone in situations, I definitely prefer company of devotees. I don't want to be alone. I want to be with devotees. That's my preference. But we connect the afterlife with the spiritual realms because they are a higher and closer to God's ideal of creation, whereas the earth is a place of conflict and difficulty and disease and suffering, which you don't have in the spiritual realms at all. There's no disease, there's no conflict, there's no suffering. It's just joyous in every aspect. And there's no sense of time. When you're really, really happy, there's no sense of time. You're not thinking about time. So we think of the afterlife as a spiritual transition. I do. I think of this life as spiritual, but especially in the afterlife, I want it to continue. But there's no certainty about continuing with devotion. I think we have that feeling because it makes us cling to God without any gaps, because we don't want to be tossed loose off into some dark corner. So I don't know what's going to happen after death. I kind of have a good idea of what's going to happen.
You have a good idea about you mean?
Well, about what happens to people, but yeah, about me. And I'm concerned about me. You're concerned about you. And as far as our experience, so I used to read about after-death experiences with Edgar Casey, which I don't believe is completely accurate. He has his viewpoint, even in trance. It's his viewpoint, and I would read a little bit about it. Well, now it's available on YouTube, so occasionally I'll watch some of the near-death experiences on YouTube. And they speak of your relatives there to greet you, and that horrifies me. Please, no. After death, I don't want my relatives anywhere around there. I hope that they don't even know. So it seems to be a common thing that their relatives are there to greet them, and which I'm thinking, even in the afterlife, where it's supposed to be heavenly, you have to cling to God's feet tight, because even in the afterlife in heaven, it doesn't mean that there's going to be devotion. Because devotion isn't necessarily there. People are there to enjoy what they like to enjoy, and I don't want to go to heaven to enjoy anything other than the company of devotees, the company of gurus. I think the afterlife would be ideal. Would be to roam just as we do, but without drivers, of course. But to roam as we do throughout beautiful heavenly realms, visiting sadhus and yogis and mahatmas and perfect masters, gurus, and just roaming about, meeting these divine beings, far, far away from relatives or any petty type familial family enjoyment. I've had family enjoyment. I know what it's like, and it is nice. But it isn't even close to the enjoyment of spiritual family. In other words, those that are wedded together by the blood of spirit. The spiritual blood is much thicker, very much more real than physical blood. It's that spiritual blood that connects devotees to each other. Connects me to you, and it connects you to me. It connects us to God and divine beings and gurus. And Paramahansa Yogananda, for example, Babaji, and others. So that's my hope for the afterlife, and I kind of don't have any doubts about it. I feel that it's true, but just don't let me die and have my relatives be there.
But
No,
Guruji,
that's my feeling. I know some of you really love your mothers and fathers and your brothers and sisters, and so this is just peculiar for me. Don't, if you love your family, don't just disregard what I'm saying. Yes.
but is it that none of like nobody from our physical family could be also our spiritual family?
Mm-hmm. They can. They can also be your tormentors. So yeah, of course, my Ram and his brother was the spiritual family. There's many instances. It's kind of even in spiritual families, there's conflict about the ones that we've read about in the past. They have conflicts, but yeah, I think we hear about, and I've heard a lot of people express, they have Kriya Yoga, they practice Kriya Yoga, and they have children, and they want their children to be on the spiritual path, and want them to have those that desire and those inclinations. So they try to raise them in a spiritual way, and sometimes it comes about, but it's certainly no guarantee. All three of my children, I raised them in accordance with Hindu belief. They all have Hindu names, all three of them. They're not interested at all now that they're adults, and they, especially my eldest Rama, he spent a lot of time with Mahatmas, because Mahatmas were living in the houses that I had, and also quite a bit of time with a particular perfect master, also Indian perfect master. And the Indian perfect master was fond of him too. Would give him birthday gifts, but he has no interest in meditation or at all. But he's a very wonderful, kind, sweet boy, and very extremely intelligent. All three of them are very intelligent, which they must have gotten from their mother. But they don't. Their beliefs are religious beliefs. They're not spiritual beliefs. They believe in religions, but they're not interested in the Hindu religion, which is strange. I raised them vegetarian, so they're vegetarian. They never had meat. They don't drink. They don't do drugs. So all of that is good. But you find in various, my brother, for example, I just have one brother. He had no spiritual beliefs at all. None. Maybe a little vague interest in Jesus, but certainly nothing that he ever practiced. So he and I are complete opposites, and we come from the same family. So No, I don't think families are necessarily going to be spiritual. Now, Ramakrishna's father was a very, very devout devotee of God, and his mother. And he had a dream that Ramakrishna's mother, I think, had the dream that a divine being would be born as her son, and his father would have visions also. So they were very highly spiritually devoted and conscious. And then think of Yogananda. His mother practiced Kriya Yoga from Lahiri Mahasaya, and his father practiced Kriya Yoga and practiced very deeply. He was initiated by Lahiri Mahasaya, and then they had children, and Yogananda was born into their family. So, and then in the Gita, Krishna says that sometimes you're born into the family of yogis if you're reborn into the world. But you're so favored that you're born into the family of yogis. And he said, which is rare, it would be rare. My father is very, very open to everything spiritual. He didn't practice meditation, but he was an exceptionally sweet, compassionate man who thought very, very deeply of God and what life is about, what's the purpose of it. And we would have long discussions. But I've been in and out of families. I know that families, to me, are it's like a cyclone going in the wrong direction. It has a particular, almost going back into the times of creation, this formation of connection in blood to souls and a family, and to surviving all the dangers of Earth for creation and protecting your children. And there's lots of enjoyment in a family. You're in a house. You're all the same blood. You're protecting one another. You're all sleeping together. You're all eating together. You're having your troubles and your stomach aches and all these things together. And there's a special feeling, very special, very pleasant feeling about that. I remember the first time I experienced it, and I felt this is really a wonderful feeling. Family is. But I never had attachment to family at all. I always, even within the family, I stayed to myself, and I kept myself private from my family, from my mother and father, and things. We talk about God looking after you and miracles happening. I'm 71 years old now, and I've never had even the slightest inkling of attachment to family at all. None whatsoever, which is unusual. Now, I feel attachment to devotees, very much so. Just like I do little puppies, but to family, not at all. But I know for absolute certainty that when I do leave this earth, there's not going to be any thought for family. I don't have any karmic connection to family. I'm not going to be reborn because of any entanglement with family. There's no connection between me and the planet Earth, karmically because of family. That's been severed. But then there's no connection with me and karmically with anything on Earth at all. There used to be, but it's all been destroyed. There's nothing that connects me to the to being reborn. And there's lots of wonderful, beautiful places to live other than this earth if you want a life of devotion, a life of God, being with God, and being with the devotees of God. But all of us will experience that together. We're close enough in age. We'll all be in the afterlife together. So we'll all see each other in the afterlife. I'll be there to welcome you to our new home in the afterlife. I'm quite a bit older than all of you, so I'll go there. I'll go there first and get things all set up for us.
Guruji, it's so strange that you're talking about this. I was, in fact, talking about this to my husband, explaining to him because he is not a spiritual uh, seeker. But I was explaining to him that why should we be following a guru? He was asking me, and you were just talking. I said that, gurus, they'll take care of you when you go up. And you're just saying this exactly the same thing today. It's really amazing.
Well, as long as you have love and devotion for God and devotion for me, I'm attached to you. I can't become unattached to you. In other words, I don't have any spiritual power to get away from you. None whatsoever. I'm totally helpless. So I'm completely attached to those that love me. Those that don't love me, I have zero attachment. I can drop you like a hot potato and never think about you ever again. If you don't have devotion to God, if you have devotion to God, if we have that connection, I can't possibly. So you would definitely be if you all came back to Earth. If all of you would come back to Earth, I would definitely come back to Earth. If that's where you are. Yes, son.
Guruji, when you were saying earlier about your family, is it that they don't feel this love and devotion towards you? That is why you have kind of that ties?
No,
Or
not at all.
and why I was asking is that I feel a sense of attachment. It's almost like sometimes I feel that I have to help my mother find God or help somebody else. And sometimes I question, who am I to help? Sometimes my mom will say things to that effect. So there is some kind of attachment which I feel. So am I supposed to do anything about it or just carry on?
Well, most people have attachment to their families. It's unusual if you don't. It's a family. The tentacles of illusion are the deepest with family. So the love that you feel for family, a mother that feels for her daughters, her son, is a very strong attachment because there is love there. And so the strongest attachments are because of love. So you love your daughter, for example, and you want the best for her. You don't want her to be hurt. You want her to be happy. There's a special feeling there just for her. And that's all because of creation. That's all because of Maya. Um, if she wasn't born your daughter, if she was born somebody else's daughter, you might meet and there'd be no attachment. So as wonderful as that love is, but they are a soul. But every human being is a soul, so you want the best for every human being, and you're their charge. You're their mother or you're their father, so they're your responsibility. But after they become adults and they're situated in life, they're they're you need to concentrate on your life. You need to. So if you're a mother or father and you've been caring for your children for 18 years, college, so 20 years, 22 years, especially after they get married, then they're responsible for their family. Of course, you can stay in touch with them. You can be concerned about them, but you need to go your own way. You need to really start to become serious about your God realization and your devotion to God, and not your family, because your family is fine. Meaning your daughters and your sons, they're fine, and they're starting their own families, and especially the fourth chapter of your life, you need to retire completely from such things and go into the woods, so to speak, and put all of your efforts into your sadhana and visiting temples and time with devotees and satsang and those activities. All of us, especially if you've been young parents, and when I was a parent, when my children were young, we were around other parents and their children were young, and so occasionally we would pick up one of their children, and all 4-year-olds are absolutely adorable, and because the 4-year-old of your friend, they're with you all the time. They see you. They think of you as family, and you pick them up, and they trust you. They love you, and you can feel the love that you have for your child. You can feel that for another child. The same type of love, the same type of real protective fatherly or motherly love. But of course, that's because the child is so young, and the child himself or herself has a universal outlook on life, a universal mind. So it is. We hear in spiritual teachings to love everybody, and so as spiritual people, we try to love everybody. But there's no trying in love. As your spiritual consciousness elevates, your love expands. But it doesn't mean that you become involved with everybody. Yeah. See?
Very good, Dave. I didn't mean to cut you off. But,
that's all right.
my question is, like, when you're saying when the children are spiritual beings and they grew up, like in my case, like when you plant the seed in them as a bhakti, or they grew up very, very spiritual, but now they no longer follow it, do you think eventually they will come back and follow it?
It just depends on their path, their whatever karma is the most predominant in them. When they're young, like when my children were young, they're very, very easily influenced because their prarabdha karma hasn't it hasn't matured yet. So, and then as they get 4, 5, 6, 7, you can watch them starting to go more out into the world. And an older child doesn't remember anything about his when he was a baby or when he was young. They forget everything, and then start becoming more involved with the world. And that period when you were trying to teach them in accordance with your spiritual belief.
It was like more like till age 21, she followed like my older one. I give you like 3 different scenarios. Like until 21, she was chanting. Like I used to follow is called Vaheguru chanting. So she used to went to the places where she chanted 12, 14 hours, Vaheguru, Vaheguru, Vaheguru. And you were talking about yesterday about an experience having the, when you chant for so long, you can see the light. And she got to that point where she saw the light, and then she blessed one, and she has a lot of physical challenges, but her whole body got challenged. When I say challenged, means got healed. She had a traumatic brain injury. She has very high up. She has epilepsy at least like 4 times a week. Long story short, she married a man who grew up in India, but here, fast forward, he's more spiritual than she is now, and she's visiting me from North Carolina, and she's like, "Oh, I just talked to PS. What he's doing? Oh, he's watching the Ramayana while I'm sitting here. I can't believe it. I got out of this, and now he's doing this." And I'm like, okay. And then he fasts for 72 hours. And then he's like literally doing, different mudras, watching YouTube, Dr. M and this and that. And like Sunny said, is like, are you supposed to just watch their journey? Are you supposed to help them? Are you supposed to say something?
Well, seems like her husband is of real benefit to her. She's real fortunate to have a husband like that. So even if so she's around somebody who's really devoted to God, which is, even if she's not openly accepted of it, she's in that environment, so she's getting that every day from him, which is real fortunate.
Yeah, it is. He's like an extreme case, like literally fasting for 72 hours and doing, mudras in his meditation room. And then he comes out, and once a week he called me, Auntie Ji, I did this. What do you think I should do? I listened to this Guruji. Da, 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 da. I'm like, oh, that's good, bacha, that's good. And Ashley's like, what did you do to my husband? I said, I didn't do anything. I'm like,
he did it himself.
He did it himself. That's exactly because I'm really
ask her, why did you pick out? Did she pick out her husband? Is it a love marriage?
They met. Yes, it means when they met, there was all loving.
Okay. Well, she was attracted to him. If it's love marriage, so she picked him out. Tell her it's her. Tell her it's her fault. It's yours.
She's funny, so I just wanted to that.
Well, just the fact that you're her mother, and you're completely devoted spiritually, and now her husband's completely devoted spiritually, and she has these karmic connections with 2 people that are very devoted spiritually. There has to be something about her that is very spiritual, and she just hasn't found a way to outwardly connect with it or express it. But my children, for example, I'm just talking of outward ways. I don't know what's happening in their experience or in their thoughts or in their beliefs. This is just outer formal things. I don't know what's. They all have good hearts, but it sounds like she is very strongly connected. I wouldn't think that she just hasn't found a way that's comfortable for her, feels good for her, that of a way of expressing or connecting with that. But it doesn't mean that she's not just as strongly connected inwardly.
Yeah, my 22-year-old, she has no interest. I think she start following something else, which I have a clue.
Well, there's so many, especially in modern day now. I mean, we're not growing up in villages. There's so many different diverse ways of going out into the world. and connecting with the world and being entertained and enjoyed and persuaded. And you should be too. All of us have grown up in a time that's where the world is going way, 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 speeding up way, way faster, leaving us behind. We grew up in a really good time to be with God, much, much easier than these future generations. The Sat Yuga is far, far, far away. This is still a place of strong materialism, and souls come into this earth for solely for the purpose of experiencing difficulties. But the life is just a blink of the eye. You're here for a second, and then you go back to the spiritual realms. So it's important to bring on any difficulties. The more, the better, and see your way through them, and understanding that you're fighting a battle, and then the battle is going to be over. But it's important that you don't lay down your bow and arrow and stop fighting. You better yourself, and become better and better every week. Become more and more excellent, and in your life, regardless of the difficulties that you go through. If you don't have difficulties, then that's considered bad karma. It's just the opposite of what worldly people think. And the more difficulties you have, that's considered good karma. But not to a spiritual person it is, but not to a worldly person. It's just the opposite.
So they have their own journeys and they find their own gurus when the time is right?
I don't know about their gurus. Very few people find their gurus. You can say, like these popular gurus, I found my guru, or thousands of people say that they found their guru, Yogananda, even though they never met him. They're just they've been persuaded to think wrongly, because it just simply isn't. You have to meet your guru. You have to talk with them. You have to be able to interact with them. It's not a fabrication of your imagination. You can't think that you can talk to an invisible person if you can't even sit still and meditate for half an hour. If you can become absorbed into samadhi, then yeah, you can have relationships with divine beings that aren't in a physical body, but not if you can't meditate deeply. I mean, these are just facts.
Guruji?
Mm-hmm.
So disciples of Yogananda who did not find God, like there were so many who didn't realize, what happens to them, or does Yogananda ji still work with them in different realms, or he will come back to earth because of them?
Well, it says, Krishna said, or Lahir Masai also said, just a little bit of practice will save you from colossal sufferings. So people that are born already have prarabdha karma already in effect, so which prevented them, even if maybe they wanted to, prevented them from sticking it out with their spiritual practices. And so it'll carry them back into the sea of worldliness. But that little bit of contact, or that little bit of practice, or having the darshan of Yogananda, those are merits that bring you back. the spiritual path. So it could go on that way for thousands of years until they're stable on the spiritual path. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people had the Darshana Ramakrishna that never changed their materialistic attitudes. I've met hundreds of people and thousands of people that consider Yogananda to be their guru. And I think if I know any of them that have escaped worldliness, even the one direct disciple of Yogananda, he was also told by Yogananda to initiate. I would say it was a disappointment because nobody really disappoints me. But he was a liar. He was a cheater. But he believed himself to be superior to everybody else spiritually. But he wasn't. He was egotistical. I mean, I was there so much. I got to observe the lies, and really not somebody that you would look up to as being spiritually advanced, even though he thought that he was more so than anybody else. So I'm never surprised at what other people are or they aren't. You see so many different things in life, so many different people. But some have been with me for over 10 years, close in 14 years now, since I started making myself available. And some people have left, but most people have stayed. It's that way with anything that somebody takes up. The majority, well, not the majority, but a lot of them will leave. A lot of them left Yogananda. But everything that we interact with makes impressions on us. So any authentic spiritual interaction makes an impression on us, a permanent impression. Inauthentic spiritual perceptions don't make an impression on us. So if anybody's exposed to authentic love and devotion to God, it makes an impression. So everybody's will find emancipation, liberation at some time. It could be billions and billions of years, trillions of years. Eventually, everybody will come back to God completely. Eventually, but to think about the time frame would give you a headache. Well, at some time this world will cease to exist. There's thousands and hundreds of thousands of other worlds similar to this one, and in this material realm, people live. So we don't incarnate just into this world. We incarnate into other worlds also. And then there's the astral realms, which are even much larger than the physical realm. We incarnate back and forth from there into the different astral worlds, even if you're never reborn into the physical world. And then there's the causal worlds, which are even bigger than the astral, and we incarnate in between different causal planets. And then we incarnate from the causal to the astral to the causal. If you live in the causal, you never come back to the physical unless you're do it as some type of a service mission, become a permanent resident of the astral, and then you become eventually a permanent resident of the causal. But you have access. You could go anywhere in the astral and anywhere in the physical if you wanted to, once you become a resident of the causal. So we have eternity to do this. So if you're going back to the children, if your children, if they don't develop a spiritual attitude in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, they will at some time. It will happen. You have other children too. What about your other children? You don't care about them? You know, all the other children you've had from your incarnations, what happened to them? It's not the first time you've been a mother, and the first time you've been a father. And your wives and your husbands and all your other mothers and fathers, countless. What about them? Aren't you concerned about them? Well, they say when you die and you go into the astral realm, you'll meet many of your other mothers and many of your other fathers and many of your other children. We have a better understanding there of the infinite play of. There's just a higher atmosphere. We have a better understanding without having to intellectually think about it, about how things are. But you can have a soulmate that it's just the two of you for eternity. That also happens. You incarnate together. You incarnate into the world. You incarnate into the astral, the causal. You do it together. Not at the exact time. You don't have the same birthday, even though you could be born as twins, I guess. I'm sure that's happened at one time. But I know some really beautiful spiritual families where the mother practices Kriya Yoga, father practices Kriya Yoga, the children practice Kriya Yoga. I know, and all sincerely too, and all throughout decades. So that is also happening. I mean, I see it and continue to. And my second son, I did initiate him. Rama is my first son, and Brahmanan is my second son, and Lalita is my daughter. But I initiated Brahmanan into Kriya Yoga. So he meditates.
Guruji,
Yes.
during one of your satsangs years ago, you said that if you really want to help someone become God realized, because 7 generations or 5 generations before you and after you will get spiritual boons as well. So is it true? How does it work? And especially in the case of your children, for example.
Well, the Mahatmas taught me that, but then I also heard that Yogananda said the same thing. So that's why I believe that. Is because they told me, and I still believe it because I learned that at a young age, so it's ingrained in me, that belief. So I used to think about that quite often. But I noticed in reading about Ramakrishna his wife's family. She had a big family. It was like Nanda Mayamada, aunts, uncles, cousins, and brothers and sisters, and how highly respected they were by Ramakrishna's disciples after Ramakrishna left his body, and how troubled Sarada Devi was by them. But they were treated as spiritual beings, just simply because they were born into her family's lineage. So that's and you would think, why do they have such regard for this horrible person? It's simply because he or she were born into the family. Well, they do. The disciples are Ramakrishna. And I can't say I quite understand it, but I see that it's, the gurus and Mahatmas act and live as though that is true. And I can see there's a blood connection, there's a family connection, there's a karmic connection. You become God realized, and that God realization, because of that connection, is like a sap that goes through the whole family lineage, and then goes back to a certain time and goes forward to a certain time, kind of as far or as powerful as that sap can reach, that sap of God. So I think technically, it's I can see how it would be true. Okay, Tat Sat, and I'll see everybody next weekend. Okay.
Pranam, Guruji.
Om Tat Sat.
Pranam, Guruji.
Om Tat Sat.
Thank you, Gurudev. Tat Sat.
That was a good Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. I like that.
Om Tat Sat.
I like that. That's good. A lot of conviction.
Thank you.
Om Tat Sat.
Om Tat Sat.
Om Tat Sat.
Jiao.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Om Tat Sat.